What is going on, guys? This is Artist Touch Painting. I'm Jesse. If you haven't seen any of these videos yet, this might be the first time you're seeing me. I just wanted to get on here and talk about the project for the day. I just pulled up to a client's house, and what we have going on today is a wallpaper removal. It seems to be a trending thing lately to get rid of this old wallpaper that's up on people's houses, and a big question is always, should we go over it or should we remove it? What's more cost effective? In most cases, generally I'm going to suggest removal, unless you have really good paper that's really tight on, and it's usually a type that's glossy, has somewhat of a sheen onto it, because those papers are the ones that give you the most of a headache to remove. They like to tear off in tiny little pieces, and you end up spending a long time trying to get it all off to be able to even get to the part where you're prepping to be able to paint it. So in a lot of cases, those are ones that I would suggest to go over, and that would take spackling over all the seams of the sheets of paper and priming over it to seal it out and block it before you're able to paint it. But what we have today is a big 2-story foyer stairway. It's the front entrance of the house, and it's got fairly thick paper that was actually placed on top of old paper. So the project for today is to just remove it. It seems like it should come down fairly easily. Anything that's going to be left over as far as the backing of the paper and the glue is going to be sprayed with a water and vinegar solution. And then that way that sheet comes off pretty easily too as well. Hot water sometimes does the trick, but I like to throw the vinegar in there to break up the glue. And a lot of people ask, like, how long is that going to take? Because I tend to charge it at an hourly rate. And what that's going to cover is the removal, the glue removal, and all of the wall prep involved in getting it ready to paint. Which sounds like a lot and sounds like it's going to take a long time, but you will see today, I'm going to record a video time-lapse with my camera. And you'll be able to see what happens in the first day in a few hours. All the paper will come down and the glue will start to come off, and we'll start prepping it up. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and I will check back in between each step of the process. So here we go. Alright guys, so I don't know if you can tell, but that went really well. I think the contributing factor for how well that paper came down was the thickness of the top piece of paper. It was a nice, thick, durable piece. It didn't peel off in tiny little shreds. It came off in pretty big pieces, and the backing to it, once that's soaked with water and vinegar, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but once it gets saturated and you get a good little corner of it to peel, it starts peeling off in full sheets for the most part. But the helpful part was that underneath this paper, it was properly primed, and that was on top of another, piece of wallpaper. So for whoever put the new sheet of paper up in this foyer, they primed it and put it up, and that was definitely helpful for, getting our paper off. Once saturating the backing, it didn't go through to the walls or through to the new paper or the old paper underneath. It kind of just stopped at that primer, made the backing peel off easily. In the time lapse, it's really fast, but me and my guy came in and we knocked it out in 3.5 hours. All of the paper is off, and it's now sitting and drying and ready for the next phase, which is also going to be recorded for you guys to take a look at and keep track of. But it's going to be all of the spackling. It's going to be the caulking around the trim and covering up the seams, and all the prep work to get the walls in good condition, so that when we paint, our paint job is quality. So we're going to use an oil-based primer on top. After all the spackling work is done, it's dried and sanded, we're going to put that primer on, and that's going to help seal everything up. It's going to help our 2 coats of paint to go on and stay on. We're going with a sheen, so priming after the spackling is key to hide all of the spackling work. Even though we do good work, when you have paints with sheen, you have a higher risk of these things showing up. Even if you spackle well, you sand well, you can see the texture difference, the nap difference between the roller and the smoothness of the spackle. So the next thing you're going to see is that you're going to see all of the prep work get done. There's probably not going to be enough time in the day to be able to get to the priming part, but we may also start dipping into dealing with the sealing as well. There's a couple seams that need to be spackled, so that can dry and be primed. Right now it's brown, we're going to take it to white, and the walls are going to go an off-white color that kind of matched one of the tones that we picked out of the existing wallpaper. So stay tuned and you'll see why I do this at an hourly rate, because the paper coming down is actually the easy part. It's all the prep work and all the the stuff that's going to make the walls look good that takes the time, depending on how bad the quality of walls are. We're lucky on this one. There's already paper there, it's already primed, so we really just have to deal with some of the seams and some of the cracking and stuff like that. Guys, so that is it for day 1. It went extremely well as far as wallpaper removal goes. A lot of times it's a real treacherous process, but like I said, this one was primed, so everything went pretty smoothly. In that second part you saw, we set everything back up and we started spackling the seams and any impurities on the walls, which wasn't a whole lot, actually. The seams were pretty tight on the paper that was already existing, so there wasn't a whole lot of seams that we needed to spackle to fill and make smooth. We hit all of the ones that were there and apparent. Some of the little pieces of backing that were still on there, we handled them too. Some little nail pops, stuff like that. The standard, but pretty much probably 60% of the walls are spackled. A lot of it's just a thin skim coat, just enough to cover. So yeah, now we're on dry time on that, and that's a wrap for the day. So really in about 5.5 hours, you can have your wallpaper down and your walls prepped and almost ready for paint. So that's part one of the process, and stay tuned for part two, where we're going to go and we're going to prime everything. We're going to sand all this back. We're going to prime the walls. That's going to help with sealing the walls, evening them out with a nice new smoother surface. And it should also block any staining from any type of leftover glue or anything from the walls or anything like that. Since we're going with a really light white base paint, it's definitely imperative to make sure stains are blocked. Otherwise that white paint's going to start looking yellow, and yeah, nobody wants that. So you got to take the extra steps, the extra precautions. Prep is everything in painting. You skip prep and the whole job is shot, and you don't want that. You can't let your name ride on that. So go the extra mile every now and then if you have to. Otherwise it's going to nip you in the butt later. So yeah, if you like what you saw so far, don't forget to subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you can see when part two comes out. You'll immediately find out, and you'll be able to click on that and see the real transformation on a job like this. See if it's something worth doing yourself or hiring somebody to do. If you're a fellow painter, maybe you got some new information, some new tips, some new ideas. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Thanks.